What's going on, YouTubers? For ladies and gentlemen, it's the Natural Born Thriller, and welcome everyone to All Elite Wrestling Review, where it pertains to give you AEW Dynamite, as AEW Dynamite on TNT presents Fyter Fest. Yes, AEW Fyter Fest. Night 1 that took place on July 14th, 2021, and Night 2 that took place on July 21st, 2021. This will be your full review, not what pertains to segments or promos, whatever. Um, this will just be a full review where it pertains to the matches only. That's what it's gonna be all about for this whole thing. Also, I got some topics too. Obviously, I'm gonna start with the topics first before I start talking about AEW's Dynamite Fyter Fest Night 1 and 2, the full wrestling review. So the first topic I want to talk about pertains to AEW is that AEW Dynamite will be doing a show called Grand Slam on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021 in Queens, New York City. And it's going to be taking place at the Arthur Ashe Stadium. And I'm very excited for that because AEW's Grand Slam has sells 15,000 tickets, and during that time in 24 hours, and is close to selling out. And folks, I think it's still going on because they're still open up seats and all that and everything. But because it's doing so well. But I think at this point now it's sold out. But either way, it's just great because I've been waiting for this for a long time for AEW to come to New York City, and finally they're coming here to New York. Now my thing is that I'm hoping that maybe they'll come to Madison Square Garden, but hey, this is even better. They're gonna do it at a stadium, and I cannot wait. And the reason why I say that is because I'm not gonna be watching at home. I'm actually gonna be watching in person. I'm gonna be there, for the show itself. My first ever AEW event, my first ever AEW experience. I already got my ticket, and I'm all set to go, and I cannot wait. That's gonna be a stacked card of what they're gonna do on that show. It's not gonna be just a regular Dynamite show. It's gonna be a one of those special events for AEW Dynamite, which pertains to doing Grand Slam, and appropriate name for it too because they're gonna be in again in the stadium, and I'm very excited. I don't know how many times I keep saying that, but I'm excited. But I am definitely excited, especially of things I'm hearing that what's gonna happen on the show. Once we get to it, even though the one thing that I was talking about was hints to something that could happen. Doesn't matter. I was still what's going to the show either way, but we'll get to that part when we get to it. But yeah, that's one thing I want to talk about. It pertains to me going to the event. It's already sold out. Got my ticket. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to meet some new people. Of these AEW wrestling fans. Pertains to talking about AEW and the show and the wrestlers and whatever have you. And it's gonna be an experience that I barely got in during my times of going to events of the WWE. Besides some horrible things. I mean I'm not saying it was that horrible, but it was just one of those things that some things that annoyed me. But I digress. The second thing I want to talk about is AEW Wrestling. Has picked up Thunder Rosa, who is now All Elite. I mean, she's been All Elite since it was announced about a week ago or two maybe. But either way, I am so excited that Thunder Rosa has decided to let her contract run out of NWA. And I thought maybe it was gonna be run out like somewhere later in September maybe, or October or November. I don't remember the Pacific, but yeah, the fact is that Thunder Rosa's contract has finally run out from NWA. At the end of the day, it was a decision. She could do whatever hell she wanted because she's Thunder Rosa. But she, the thing that she wanted to do is to come to All Elite Wrestling. And she is now All Elite. and her first match as an official All Elite wrestler in AEW was a match against Julia Hart, which I will get to that when I get to it when it pertains to talking about Fyter Fest. I mean, not Fyter Fest. I'm sorry, Fight for the Fall. I meant to say. But yeah, again, we'll get to that when we get to it. But the important thing is Thunder Rosa is there, and what I'm looking forward to for Thunder Rosa is that she's going to be the one. It's going to be going against Britt Baker, for the AEW Women's World Championship title, sometime this year, where Thunder Rosa's going to be the one to be the one to defeat Dr. Britt Baker DMD. Cause that's obviously going to happen, but that's besides the point. The point is that I'm looking forward to seeing the feud once again, rebuilding of Thunder Rosa and the Britt Baker DMD, this time with Thunder Rosa being part of the company of AEW. And I'll just talk about Thunder, Britt Baker on Twitter, that Thunder Rosa is not even in the company. She doesn't even work for the company, that she shouldn't even go after the women's title and all that and everything. She shouldn't even be the women's champion, if she ever does win the title. Well, even though she came close to winning it against Hikaru Shida from last year at All Out, but at the end of the day, Thunder Rosa is here, and now she could commit to being the AEW Women's World Champion if, when she gets to that number one ranking, she gets the opportunity to face Dr. Britt Baker DMD sometime in the future, and I cannot wait for that match again. Now I thought it was gonna be the same match they had from St. Patrick's Day, but we'll see how they start rebuilding up that feud between Thunder Rosa and Dr. Britt Baker DMD. Another topic is a big topic here, folks, and that topic is guys that are also All Elite with AEW, pertains to the rumor mills and speculations. He said, she said, all that about the two biggest game changers in pro wrestling history has signed with All Elite Wrestling and now are All Elite with AEW. And obviously, you see the best in the world, the straight edge hardcore superstar himself, CM Punk. After 7 years of being gone from the WWE or in pro wrestling in general, he's finally going to make his return into pro wrestling, this time with All Elite Wrestling. And beside him is the American Dragon, also known as being the best in the world since the days of Ring of Honor, the former Daniel Bryan from WWE, Bryan Danielson. Two of the biggest stars that WWE had in the palm of their hands, now gone from WWE, and now here they are in All Elite Wrestling. Now, obviously, the first guy we're going to talk about is the straight edge, CM Punk. Now, if you remember CM Punk, of his final pro wrestling run was back in 2014 in the WWE Royal Rumble that happened in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The night that the WWE decided to stupidly had Bryan Danielson, at the time Daniel Bryan, to not be in the Royal Rumble despite him having the match of the night, the best match on the card of Daniel Bryan versus Bray Wyatt, the opener, the curtain jerker of the Royal Rumble event, where maybe he'll come into the Rumble later on, which is why they did the first opening match between the two. Now obviously Bray Wyatt was going to be in there because there was no announcement that he was going to be in there either at that time. But the fact that they got those guys out of the way, and then we got none of them in the Rumble, and then you'll see Punk having his issues, leading up to the Royal Rumble, where after the Royal Rumble, he, as was explained on Coco Band's podcast later on that year, that basically Punk explained his story about everything that has happened, after he re-signed with the company, where he was almost out of the door back in 2011, where he was frustrated, obviously, and this is one of the reasons why he left, because he was frustrated once again that he was not getting the opportunities that he should be getting. He's not being the focal point that he should be, because he is the champion at the time, and they were not booking him strong. They were not booking him where it pertains to him, have his own creative ideas and have his own creative input, and to have him be the guy that will help the company to expand back to that mainstream that they've been missing out for a long time. And John Cena was not doing it for them, despite about, well, I'm not even gonna get into that. But CM Punk has been gone ever since, and it was during the time where Punk's passion was gone. And and CM Punk ain't the first guy, that WWE has beaten the passion out of him. It's been happening with a lot of guys, even Eric Young. I remember seeing Eric Young when he came back to Impact Wrestling. I remember he had a nice mass muscles of his bicep and everything, and when he came back, his muscles were gone. I mean, he's like getting back though, but I was saying to myself, oh my god, I was saying to myself, what the fuck they done to this guy? Like they must have beat the passion out of this guy when it tends to living pro wrestling, and sure enough, that's what it was. He hated pro wrestling. He didn't want to watch pro wrestling anymore. There was during the time when he was employed with WWE, where he was doing nothing but being catering, and basically he was thinking about giving up wrestling until finally after he'd been released during the whole COVID-19 spring cleaning of the Black Wednesday at that time, where he has to come back to Impact Wrestling, and he found the passion again. He found the love and the passion for pro wrestling once again. And that's the thing. Where it comes to WWE, they don't care about pro wrestling. They don't care about the workers, the wrestlers and all that. All they care about is making money out of them, and all they care about is making money of everything the profit on. And obviously with Bray Wyatt, he's one of those cases too. But yeah, especially with attention fans, they don't care about the fans. All they care about is the fans' money. That's what companies care at the end of the day. Now, money is important to have, obviously, because you need money to to keep things running, keep things going, to make the world go around and all that. But when you start getting too greedy for money and all that, and start getting obsessed with money and all that, it really takes control of your life and your mind and all that. That's it builds up an ego there, and it becomes an evil mind to deal with, and you can never escape from it. And I wish a lot of people will learn that, But but back to the whole thing with CM Punk though. With him being gone, he's been doing stuff in UFC, which that was a fail for him, unfortunately. But at least he did what he did. You won't see anyone else that will fill his shoes, other than Batista. And also when it pertains to Alberto Del Dipshit. I could say a few others too. Hell, even Thunder Rosa. She still does MMA. And she's doing a hell of a job. I'll tell you one thing. She's a better MMA fighter than Ronda Rousey. I'll say that. I'm not saying that Thunder Rosa can fill in the shoes of being undefeated. And obviously that ship sailed because she lost her first fight, but she didn't lose. But she went the distance though. At least she went the distance, unlike Ronda Rousey. Just saying. But the fact is, is that, and I think maybe Sarah. What was her name from WWE? Sarah Logan, from the Riot Squad. I forgot what was her other name before she came into WWE. Because she had a gimmick that son that I forgot about. Mary Dobson, that was her name. The gimmick that she had before she came to WWE. And obviously she did that gimmick too where she was in NXT as well, just at one time. But other than that, they didn't want her to do that again. Even though I thought that was a unique gimmick that she did at first, but I digress. But I think she's gonna be try to do something from MMA as well. She's training in MMA, and I think she wants to do MMA since she's no longer wrestling anymore after her time in WWE as well, which I'm pretty sure they also beat the passion out of her over since for her love from pro wrestling, to get back in pro wrestling again. But yeah, with CM Punk, he's done things for UFC, being 2 fights, losing one of them and then losing the other one, and then that been overruled because Mike Jackson was tested be on marijuana on that night, even though it was shown this year, but it pertains to him being tested. And I was saying to myself, why they took me this long to find that out, you know. But I digress. But CM Punk also, he ends up going to doing stuff for WWE because of Fox. Doesn't mean that he was actually back in WWE. It was a Fox thing where it tends to what was it called? It was that show that Punk was with Renee Young, Booker T, Paige, and whoever else was there. The Fox Talk show, or I don't know. WWE Fox Talk backstage. Oh yeah, that's what it was. WWE backstage, and people didn't care to see that because it doesn't matter if CM Punk was on there. They want to tune in there to watch CM Punk talk. They want to tune in to watch CM Punk do what he does best, and that's get in that ring and do what he does best, because he is the best in the world. And obviously that was a fail, so that was done. WWE backstage was done. It was a flop. And here we are with CM Punk. When he's doing things like doing movies, doing comics, which he's doing a great job of it. Being married to AJ Lee. He's happy with his life. And now we come to 2021, after this coming out, that CM Punk is going to be come back into the ring after all these years. And all we can say is that thank God he's not going back to the WWE, because if he went back to the WWE, he would have been a hypocrite. Basically, we will always say that CM Punk is a hypocrite because he said at one point that he will never work for them ever again after the whole, the FedEx on his wedding day, firing him on his wedding day. Because that was basically supposed to be the last straw, but pertains to when push comes to shove. So, as far as how I feel about CM Punk coming back to pro wrestling, I think it's great. And I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm just because y'all know me when I say I think it's great. But I really do believe that this is great because he is a game changer. Because WWE fucked him over so many times when he first got there. And I'm talking about way before he was on ECW television. This was going back to the days when he was in the OVW. And then we finally got to ECW. He was going to become the ECW champion back in the December to Dismember Elimination Chamber, Extreme Elimination Chamber, I should say, match. But they would reward to Bobby Lashley instead. Which, not against Bobby Lashley, but that should have been CM Punk's, time. And because of that was a flop. And the pay-per-view was a flop too. So, but Punk eventually did become ECW champion. And even during those times too as well, CM Punk was getting CM Punk's chant when he was teaming up with DX and the Hardy Boys in that Survivor Series traditional match with it was Ray RKO, Edge, Randy Orton. I can't remember who else was in there too, but I think he also had MVP there, Mr. Kennedy. And I can't remember. I think it was Umaga, maybe. But either way, but CM Punk got the crowds in the palm of his hand. CM Punk over than DX, over than the Hardys. And they had something there with CM Punk, and they still fucked it up. And they fucked it up when he became Money in the Bank, not once but twice. They fucked it up when he won the World Heavyweight Championship the first time around, but the second time around, they're trying to make it up and all that. And they fucked him over the whole Stress Society thing, where that could have been great, and they fucked that up. They fucked it up when he did the whole Nexus thing, the new Nexus. to a point where he wanted to leave, and he was very upset that the Miz got the main event of WrestleMania and not him. Which I can understand him being disappointed and mad about that, because he felt like it was his year, you know. And then when he signed with them and he got that title run, and they fucked it up with Kevin Nash, built the dipshit to cash on him. Triple H come out retirement to squash his momentum, and then go back to retirement after that, and then give him his championship reign that he shouldn't have lost in the first place, which during that time of Madison Square Garden, which I was there, by the way. That was a great moment either way. But yeah, from there they really fucked over CM Punk's run as WWE champion, where he barely was any in main events on pay-per-views, because you have fuckboy Buckethead John Cena on all those main events that made no fucking sense at all, because at the end of the day, CM Punk is the champion, not John Cena. And then they turned him heel because he had to gain all his momentum, all that, selling all the merch and all that, selling out John Cena's merch, and they turned him heel, he could face The Rock and all that, and then he had to deal with Ryback, who was very hurty and who was dumb as fuck, Oh my god, it was a mess for CM Punk, and all he wanted, is to show the company that he is, the man to to do the job, and to always to do it right, to show him that he is the best in the world, and he truly is. He truly is the best in the world, and they didn't care at the end of the day, because he was never the plan. He was never the plan all along, and that's how they feel about him. That if he was never the plan, then why keep him? Why even even bother signing him? Yeah, should just let him go. You should, because obviously you still no value of him of being the top guy anyways. So why even bother keeping him if you didn't see anything in him? Even when you first saw him coming into the company, why even bother keeping him in the first place if you didn't see no value in him? At least Paul Heyman and Shawn Michaels saw value in this guy. Why is it that Vince McMahon, Triple H, and whoever else, the powers that be, even Steve McMahon, didn't see anything in this guy? Now, for it to me, I was never seeing Punk at that first, but when I first saw him, he's got, I was like, yeah, he looks cool. He's not the he that has that type of build and all that, but hey, let me see what he's capable of. Because I heard of him a lot from my best friend, working into his time in Ring of Honor, and like he's got cool look, cool haircut, long hair and all that. He's got he's got it all, man. I just didn't know what I was expecting to see when I saw him, and I was hooked on him ever since. I did see value. I finally saw the value in this guy, and it's a shame that after doing all that, he's being being in these matches where he's going to be losing to part-timers, and then end up not being there the next day, and meanwhile he's still there. And, and I can understand how frustrated he can be with that whole thing, because he's one that's busting his ass, for the fans, that are watching him, even for the casuals. So yeah, it was unfair with CM Punk during that time, but hey, those days are behind him now, and now he can start off new and fresh with All Elite Wrestling, because this is where CM Punk needed to be all along. Despite the issues that the EVPs of AEW was having at the time, where they could have had CM Punk during that time, now it's better late than never that CM Punk is definitely will be coming to AEW. Is he coming to AEW Rampage? Based on how they had teasing it, because it's gonna be in Chicago. Hope so. I really hope so. It will lead to saying that CM Punk's gonna have a match at All Out. That's also gonna be in Chicago. Who knows? We'll see. It depends on how AEW carry this momentum. With after CM Punk announcement of him return to pro wrestling after 7 years of hiatus, and of all places he's gonna be wrestling, it's gonna be for AEW. And speaking of the CM Punk being in AEW, what's that mean for AJ Lee? Does she come to AEW as well? obviously she probably will go to AEW. Pertains to her being in the fans section. Pertains to being a guest and all that. But will she be wrestling? That's the problem. I think she's retired from wrestling because of her concussions that she's had, in pro wrestling. So even during her times in WWE. So I don't know if she wants to wrestle. I don't know if if she's done with wrestling, and she's just want to just sit back and relax and just be a fan. I don't know, but it'll be nice to see her to be involved also in AEW as well. Just no matter what they it's gonna happen. So, but it's a matter of how it's gonna be portrayed, and we'll see how it's done. So, and that's my thoughts about CM Punk. Pertains to him coming to AEW. Daniel Bryan, or should I say, the American Dragon, who's also known as the best in the world because of his days of Ring of Honor, Bryan Danielson. He's also been talked about where he's also is going to be all elite for all elite wrestling, which is great. And obviously, this came out left field because it was because he's always known to be WWE bound at the during those times because money is good for him that, and the company has been good for him after the lies that they said about him that he had to retire because of this and blah blah blah, even though that was all like I said, all lies. But we'll get to some of those things as well. But I find it funny that Bryan Danielson was having some negotiations with WWE, where to him he wants to stay for lighter schedules, which they give him that but also he wants to work other places like in Japan and Mexico. It obviously pertains to Japan, New Japan Pro Wrestling, obviously. It pertains to Mexico in AAA. Because he has some bucket lists of what he wants to do. Pertains to because at the end of the day he's all about pro wrestling. And Nick can't try, but Vince McMahon, how Vince McMahon is, he doesn't play well with others. And I'm pretty sure that it's not just Vince McMahon. You also got Kevin Dunn, who has some type of power in as well. But but the fact is at the end of the day, the one who makes the call, the one who the founders what's the word that's been used? The buck stops with Vince. There you go. The buck stopped with Vince at the end of the day. So obviously, the negotiation never took place in the first place. I mean, it did took place. I meant to say, the negotiations didn't go as well as Bryan Danielson thought it would, because obviously they said no. They're not gonna do it. They're not gonna because at the end of the day, how's it gonna benefit the company when it comes to WWE? Because it worked out so well with other companies in the past too, right? Like from the 80s and the 90s, even in the 2000s. Because that worked out so well, right? I don't think so. So that's why he's gone. He's gone from as the last memory of Daniel Bryan in WWE was him in the Universal Championship match as SmackDown. I didn't watch it, but I heard it was a good match that he lost to Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns took him out with the concerto, and basically he was working for that company, while he was no longer on the contract with them. So basically his contract was already expired during that before that time, and it was during that time he was was in negotiations to try and resign with them if they would agree to his terms, which they did, which obviously it didn't work because it didn't happen, because now he's gone for WWE, where it pertains to his merch. Some of his merch was taken down, and his merch was not taken down, but some of his merch was basically half of his merch was taken down, but the other half of the merch were lowered on the prices. And I remember seeing it too. Like, are you kidding me? You're that butthurt that he didn't resign with you guys, because you didn't want to come to any agreements with him, to work other places, that you decided to do all that shit. Wow. After everything he's done for you from that company, this is how you treat. This is on your final your pettiness to treat this guy. And let's talk about his run in WWE. So his run in WWE, obviously, he's been there before, and some from the 2000s, and then he was gone. But then he came back in the 2010s, where it tends to being part of the NXT. Well, obviously, even before it was on the whole NXT thing was this man was doing on Sci-Fi, was he came through FCW, before that became Triple H's NXT, where that's what he was there, and obviously he was there before the 2010s. He was there, maybe in 2008 or 2009. That in which probably I had no idea he was even there until, until 2010 came around. I'm like, holy shit, it's him, it's Bryan Danielson. And here's my story with that whole thing, folks. When I first saw him in Ring of Honor, I did not like him at all. I was not a fan of him. I didn't like his smile. I didn't like his cockiness, his arrogance, and all that. And that wasn't being a heel and all that and all. But same time, I like who's this guy? Like who he think he is? He's something special. But that had nothing to do with his wrestling. It's just the way he carried himself. He really believes that he's the shit. He really think he's he's the shit. That's what I meant to say. And his again his cockiness, his arrogance, and all that. And like this guy, like he needs his ass kicked. And the way he wrestles too, by the way, when I saw him, I'm like, my God, this guy's pretty damn good. But man, I want someone to give it to this guy. Like, he's annoying the hell out of me. Yeah, folks, at that time, I did not like Daniel Bryan at all. I hated Daniel Bryan. Well, at the time, Bryan Danielson, obviously. But yeah, I hated the guy in Ring of Honor. But then he struggled. Then later on he started growing on me. And then when he came back to WWE, when it to the NXT Vince McMahon's also of course bullshit that Vince McMahon was doing. I was excited to see him. And they paired him with the Miz, that. Well, he should have been paired with William Regal, because William Regal was one of his trainers, So, but I guess they didn't want to do it. Obviously they're at this, at the years later, kind of knew why they didn't do it that way, because they had animosity against Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, and they have him losing. You have Michael Cole, talking trash about him, obviously because he's been told by his man to say things about this guy, just to bury his entire existence. That he's a nerd, because he doesn't own his own television and all that, and he's a vegan. He doesn't drink soda, and it is everything that they do to bury this guy. And this comes from a guy who didn't like him at first. And I say to myself, why are they doing this? You got a guy who is one of your best wrestlers in that company, and you're treating him like this? Are you fucking kidding me? Like it was unbelievable. And obviously, pertains to his feud with Michael Cole, and then pertains to him finally coming to the main roster, on Raw, with the whole thing with John Cena, the whole Nexus thing, the whole necktie on Justin Roberts, choking him out with it and all that. It's led to Bryan Danielson being fired, because he wasn't supposed to do that, even though they say they never told him that, don't choke him or anything, or don't spit, don't do it, they never on him any specifics to do or not to do, or things to going out there. But hey, because of that, he got fired, but he ended up coming back eventually, to start on the program with the Miz, when he lost his championship title match, and which he won, and then it pertains to him becoming Money in the Bank, and then cashing it and winning it, Even though he was supposed to do it at WrestleMania, but they decided to not do it. At WrestleMania, they decided to just do it right now because they had an idea for it. And the idea was him to be a heel, to be world champion. And then he was doing the whole yes, yes, yes thing. And then it catched on once he got to WrestleMania against Sheamus. The whole 18-second bullshit they did. They did that purposely to bury him. Because again, why they're doing this to him in the first place it's beyond me. And then the next night, we hear obviously it was the Raw at Mania, which is the biggest thing that the can do, because of the obviously because of the fans, they go nuts and all that, and they will start doing yes for in every segments and every match and all that, and they did not have it on TV, but I mean they didn't have it on TV, but they didn't have it out there. They didn't have it go out there, in front of the people. They had him on TV just to when he was backstage watching, and you got the crowds going nuts for him. And then when the show went off the air, now they decided to have him go out there. Like, what the fuck? Like, this guy is white hot with the fans. When you had him chanting yes, 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 and all that. He started the whole yes thing, and you haven't you haven't out there after the show's over when it goes off the air. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, what the fuck's wrong with ya? But then later on, they started putting him in world championship matches with Sheamus. They put him in WWE championship matches with CM Punk. Then they have him, the whole thing with Kane with the whole team Hell No thing, and the whole thing with Dr. Shelby, and obviously, Daniel Bryan did some things with AJ Lee, by the way, which it led to Daniel Bryan creating a monster in AJ Lee, where she became crazy, psychotic, and all that, which was great, cause that got her over, and it's because of the assistance of Daniel Bryan, and obviously they fucked that up. They fucked that up too, by the way, with AJ Lee, later on. But they, but used to have some fans, that was still fans of her and still got behind her and everything, despite how WWE, poor booked on AJ Lee's character moving forward. But back to Daniel Bryan, he was getting white hot. He was getting over with these crowds and everything. Even with CM Punk on getting over, during those times. And finally, he broke away from Kane, to go on his own. And finally he isn't going on his own. And they managed to fuck that up too, where it changed the whole thing of he's a B+ player. At best, B+ player. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, again, more of this disrespect to Daniel Bryan, a guy who's a pretty good wrestler, a pretty good promo cutter. Yes, he's a small guy and everything, but he's a very good wrestler that you can market around, and really because at the end of the day, you're a pro wrestling company. Yeah, even though you're a quote-unquote sports entertainment company, at the end of the day, you're all about pro wrestling, because you got a pro wrestling ring with pro wrestlers doing what they do, and that's professional wrestling. And they were so tone deaf and so stubborn that they didn't want to go with this guy. They kept screwing him over and over and over again, but you still got fans to behind him and everything, and he got mainstream attention too, by the way, when it comes to it was some kind of I can't remember, it was like at the NBA playoffs or like a college basketball playoffs, something like that. I can't remember what it was, but they were chanting yes, because that's what Daniel Bryan was, and Daniel Bryan was a game changer. He was getting mainstream attention because of that, and then when it came to the Rumble, he got that match with that's nothing to it. Before the Rumble, the whole thing with Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family thing, that he ended up being part of the Wyatt family, and I thought that was stupid. And then 2 weeks later, they end up breaking that up, with basically with Bryan portraying Bray Wyatt. It was the story was stupid, by the way. It was a mess, but hey, at least it this time retains to the greatest moments in Raw history. Daniel Bryan breaking away from the Wyatt family to be up on Bray Wyatt, except for one thing. Even though it was a great moment, Bryan had no memories of it because he had a concussion on that night. which was unfortunate because he would have loved that night, if he would remember it. But the fact that that happened on that night, it was unique. It was so awesome, for that. And we get again we get to Rumble. He had that match with Bray Wyatt. It was great. Only to him not being the Rumble, and then they started got a lot of backlash because of that. And because Batista won, obviously. But that's another story. Finally got to WrestleMania 30. He finally won it. He had to go, and obviously they have him go to obstacle course again. With Triple H, and the whole thing with Batista and Randy Orton. He has to win it, and it was a great moment. Then he got hurt. Then he returned. Ends up in the Rumble, but in there for 10 minutes. Which was bullshit. And the Rumble ends up being a mess because of that. And he ends up going to WrestleMania to be the current champion, only to drop it because he got hurt again. And then he had to retire because WWE's bullshit, saying that because of this, because of that, which was all lies. Even he talked about that on some kind of show he was on, being interviewed about it. Like I don't understand this company at all. I really don't understand this. About how they work this whole mentality with the shadiness and everything. It's ridiculous. So he ends up being general manager for SmackDown with Shane McMahon. During those times, and then it was coming close where he's going. His contract was going to expire, where he's going to be going elsewhere to wrestle. Because obviously, because I know he could still wrestle. And WWE's like, hey, you know what? We'll get you out of retirement, and you could wrestle again. And like, really? So yeah, it frustrated me during that time that he couldn't be wrestling for guys like AJ Styles during that time, Shinsuke Nakamura during that time, and others too during that time. And instead, they wasted his 2 years of his wrestling career doing bullshit general manager stuff and whatever have you. So he ends up returning, and then obviously later on that year he became the WWE champion as a heel, by the way, which I love, by the way. But the way they did it afterwards, it was ridiculous. But I was still rooting for it. I was still behind it because I missed the hell out of Bryan Danielson wrestling again, and then the him championship belt, because his belt shouldn't be leather because he's a vegan. Your Tyler belt is made of leather. You're not a real vegan. So that's what they did. What they did with the whole customer of his own strap championship belt, and then the rhinestones, or that supposed to be, it's not supposed to be the best looking belt, but at the end of the day, it's part of his character. It's part of his gimmick. It's who he is. So. Afterwards, he ends up losing to Kofi Kingston at WrestleMania, which that was the best match on the show. Nothing else topped that. And he had other things he was doing too as well. With him being going back to being a babyface and everything, and then he had some creative roles during that time. Which is why you saw Cesaro getting the push that he was getting, Shinsuke Nakamura getting the push that he was getting. And you see others too that are getting the push as well, and eventually it came to an end here, where Bryan Danielson is not all WWE, which thank God, because I miss his wrestling so much. I miss seeing him, because he, for a guy like me who never got behind him at first, he made me turn around at the end of the day. And I started becoming a fan of him, ever since. And I'm glad he's coming back to pro wrestling. It's the love of sports entertainment access, and it's going to be right here in AEW, where he can be going to New Japan Pro Wrestling eventually, and to AAA as well. And obviously, I'm just talking about just New Japan Pro Wrestling and AAA. But he could also go to Impact Wrestling. He could go to Ring of Honor. You could go to NWA. At the end of the day, what to say? He had negotiations with Tony Khan behind the scenes, where he just just want to go to to wrestle for for the AEW, obviously, because that's obviously who he's going to be in, but also a chance to go to New Japan, maybe All Japan, person Noah. It depends how how it it's going over there due to the whole COVID-19 shit that's going on. But also go to NWA, Impact Wrestling. Maybe when uh HOG opens up again, and I think PWGs also open up too, by the way. If I recall, and but also I think I mentioned an NWA already. Ring of Honor, MLW. Cause cause you think about it, Bryan Danielson, he's all about wrestling. Again, Triple A, CMLW, CML LL meant to say. That's also in Mexico. He could wrestle wherever the hell he wants now, while being being told no by WWE because we don't play well with others. Unless what's basically what's in it for the WWE. Like it's always gotta be a hook with the WWE. With AEW though, there's never a hook. There's never a hook at all. So but yeah, so as far as Bryan Danielson, the question is, where is he's gonna debut? I'm hearing that he's gonna be debuting in Queens, New York, the place that AEW Dynamite Grand Slam is gonna be hosting their show. And before this news came out of Bryan Danielson, that he's gonna be coming to AEW, that he's all elite. I've been bought my ticket, so I bought my ticket before hearing about this whole thing with Bryan Danielson coming to to AEW, that he's gonna be part of the Queens, New York show, that he's gonna be debut there. But again, those were just speculations. Those were just rumors that he's gonna make his debut there. Even if he's not gonna be there, I don't care if he's there or not, because at the end of the day, I wanted to go to that show. If he is there, and I'm gonna be cheering for this guy, like oh my god, because and I've seen him wrestle before, live before in WWE. When the whole when he was doing the whole no thing, but us fans were doing the whole yes thing. And that story was ridiculous too, by the way, how that was told. But but anyways, that's an agenda for another time. But yeah, man, like if he is gonna be there, I'm gonna be cheering this guy like crazy, man, because he I'll tell you again, he turned me around of me of first hating him to loving him. So he shows up, I'm gonna have a wonderful time. If he doesn't show up, hey, I'll still have a wonderful time either way. Because at the end of the day, I'm there to for one reason only. And that's to attend my first ever all elite wrestling event. To experience it with the rest of the other people that's gonna be there as well. And again, it's gonna be great to meet some new people, especially when it comes to loving what we love, when it comes to pro wrestling. So yeah, we'll see what happens. And if CM Punk is gonna be showing up at AEW Rampage in Chicago, or maybe in All Out in Chicago, either way, CM Punk also will be part of the show too. So either way, it's gonna be a win-win for all of us AEW wrestling fans that's gonna be attending there. And I cannot wait. And I especially cannot wait to see Bryan Danielson wrestle once again. This time for All Elite Wrestling. Well, that took too long, folks, for attention me doing these topics. Now gonna move on to AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest Night 1, July 14th, 2021, and Night 2, July 21st, 2021. We're to give you full wrestling review. Now from July 14th, 2021, I'm gonna start with that first, which they were in Cedar Park, Texas, and the venue they were in was the HEB Center. My apologies. With the attendance of 4,680 AEW fans in attendance. The opening match was Jon Moxley defending his IWGP United States Championship title, defeating the Machine Gun Carl Anderson in 11 minutes and 12 seconds. Match result, so I thought was decent. Ricky Starks being accompanied by Hook and Powerhouse Hobbs going up against the FTW World Champion Brian Cage, defeating him in 9 minutes and 52 seconds with some help outside of Resistance Hook distracting the referee. Powerhouse Hobbs getting the belt and hitting Brian Cage with the belt. And Ricky Starks gets the win, becoming the new FTW World Heavyweight Champion. Well, not heavyweight. New FTW World Champion, meant to say. And Brian Cage is out of Team Taz. Ricky Starks was over on that night. Ricky Starks was the star on that night. Ricky Starks was a better performer in that match against Brian Cage. Just saying. But I digress. Christian Cage defeated Matt Hardy in 13 minutes and 7 seconds in the match that I thought it was one of the most weakest match on the show. I mean, he had some cool spots in the match too between Matt Hardy and Christian Cage, but it didn't interest me at all at the end of the day. But hey, Christian Cage got the win, so there you go. Sammy Guevara defeated Wheeler Yuta, who's being accompanied by Chuck Taylor, and Orange Cassidy in the singles match lasted 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Yuta Sakazaki defeated the Super Bad Girl Penelope Ford in 6 minutes and 45 seconds. And finally, Darby Allin defeated Ethan Page with all of his ego in a coffin match. 15 minutes and 22 seconds it lasted. This match was insane, with Scorpio Sky coming out of the coffin, to attack Darby Allin, Sting coming out there to attack, to basically even the odds. Ethan Page and Darby Allin going at each other for one another in this match, obviously because they're their true opponents here. With Darby Allin getting the win over on Ethan Page, and then after him being put in the coffin, Ethan Page was in his resting place, while Darby Allin climbs to the top, goes for a coffin drop to do the coffin right through onto Ethan Page, which was a sick ass bump. I couldn't believe he did that. But and that was it for night 1 of Fyter Fest from July 14th. And I'll move on to night 2 on July 21st, where they were in Garland, Texas, at the Curtis Coolwell Center, with the attendance of 5,688 fans of AEW in attendance. And the opener, I should say, was Chris Jericho defeating Shawn Spears with Tully Blanchard at ringside in the chairs match, where the stipulation that only Shawn Spears can use, but Chris Jericho can't. He has to do wrestling under normal single match rules, and he has to win at the end of the day in 10 minutes and 47 seconds. Then we get to the big LG, Doc Gallows, being accompanied by the Machine Gun Carl Anderson, defeating the Elite Hunter, Frankie Kazarian, in the match that I didn't care for either way, but it lasted 6 minutes and 53 seconds. Darby Allin, in the match that I didn't care for either, even though he's supposed to be recovering from, he's supposed to be resting. But Darby Allin, being accompanied by Sting, defeated Wheeler Yuta with Orange Cassidy at ringside in 4 minutes. Now, the match to me wasn't important. What was important, though, is what happened outside the ring. It had nothing to do with the match. And what I'm talking about is the confrontation, the face-off of Sting and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy with his pockets in his hands. I mean, pockets in his hands. Oh yeah, that'll be something to see. But no, Orange Cassidy with his hands in his pockets, and then Sting throws the first play kick to Orange Cassidy, and they start trading play kicks, and they start moving back, and they did the play super kick. Sting does the pound in the chest in a lazy way. Orange Cassidy with a thumbs up, the lazy thumbs up. That was great, and it was funny. But there you go. And Darby Allin with the look on his face, like what are you doing? That was funny though. But yeah, the match to me wasn't anything special. Dr. Britt Baker DMD with Rebel, defending her AEW Women's World Championship title, defeating the Native Beast Nyla Rose with Vicky Guerrero at ringside in 12 minutes and 11 seconds. Now there was some good spots in the match, but as far as the match was, it wasn't anything special, especially when Britt Baker got hurt too. So, which it was a pattern here, like what happened last year. Britt Baker got hurt in the match with Nyla Rose in that match, and then they had a match here, and then Britt Baker got hurt. Now when they had a match, back in the whole tournament where they're gonna see who's gonna become the contender against Hikaru Shida. That match was good, but whatever happened here, it just didn't gel well, unfortunately. Maybe there's no chemistry. That's probably what it is. They just have no chemistry. It happens. So, but I digress. But hey, it's Dr. Britt Baker DMD is still the AEW Women's World Champion. Orange Cassidy, with Christian Alexander at ringside, defeated the Blade with the Bunny at ringside, 8 minutes and 37 seconds. I didn't care for the match either. And in fact, this was one of the most weakest match on the card. So, and basically, there were a lot of weakest matches here on the card here. If anything wasn't the weakest match on the card, was Doc Gallows and Frankie Kazarian. And then what comes close to it is Darby Allin and Wheeler, Yuta. Orange Cassidy and the Blade. This was by far, weakest low match on the card. Why this seemed to have to happen is beyond me. And finally, the main event. Lance Archer with Jake Roberts at ringside defeated the IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion Jon Moxley by knockout, or should I say which is knockout, last man standing rules in this Texas Death Match. That you can only win by knockout, which pertains to if you don't answer the count of 10, then you lose. Basically like the last man standing, or by submission. And the match was brutal. It was sick. It was blood everywhere. And this was a rematch from the match from New Japan Pro Wrestling, from Wrestle Kingdom 14, from night 1. Excuse me. I was gonna say night 2, but no. But yeah, man. And this is the match I look forward to the most. Besides Britt Baker defending her title until the match gets to the match. I mean we know how that turned out. But I digress. But yeah, I thought the match itself was great, and on top of that, Lance Archer win was great too, because Lance Archer really needed this win. He needed it because if he would have lost this match here, Lance Archer, he would have been dead. He would have been dead once again, because he can never get a break. He can never catch a break of winning anything big, and he finally did here. So they did the right thing here. And I'll conclude your pertains to Fyter Fest Night 2 from July 21st. And there you go. And that will also, ladies and gentlemen, that will conclude your AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest Night 1 and 2 for 2021. As far as which night was better, to me, Night 1 was better. Night 2, unfortunately, fell off the face of the earth. But hey, the main event match. The main event match was worth watching. But yeah, Night 1 was better than Night 2. And my overall strength for the show for the AEW Dynamite Fyter Fest overall, it pertains to both nights. I'm gonna go with 8 out of 10. And there you go. That's all there is to it pertains to this show. This has been your AEW Dynamite results where it pertains to AEW Fyter Fest 2021. For this was your All Elite Wrestling review. And with that being said, folks, I am Molly here. I'm not gonna, do the whole thing where it changes to, signing off. All I'm gonna say is that thank you all for watching this All Elite Wrestling review on the Natural Born Driller's YouTube channel. So it's the Natural Born Driller saying peace on the streets. You all take care.